My name is Benjamin Akakpo, and this is The Probe. Good evening to you, all of you, from wherever you are watching us tonight, and of course listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the last few days have been nothing short of tumultuous as mammoth crowds led by Democracy Hub, a pressure group, have actually demonstrated, hitting the streets of Accra. Now, from the provided evidence of the Ghana Police Service as well as Democracy Hub, a petition was put, notice was given to the Ghana Police Service about a month ago in respect of this demonstration that was going to take place. But at the 11th hour, the police service tried to stymie the efforts of Democracy Hub by staking a claim that it was going to be a breach of security and that it was not in the public interest, or it was in breach of the Public Order Act. Day one of the planned demonstration was a mixed bag, with the police hauling some 49 people into police custody, who were later released that evening. Then we heard from Dr. George Ekufudampare, who supposedly intimated in some respect that he was not privy to what had happened. He hadn't given his blessing to the arrest of these 49 people. Day two saw bigger crowds with many more protesters hitting the streets, and despite the rain, protesters continued to hit the streets, entering day three with a more elephantine crowd. In the end, though, the protesters, who were slamming government for everything from the shambolic economy to widespread corruption and incompetence, were not allowed into the precincts of the Jubilee House. They did not come anywhere close to the Jubilee House or make a presentation of any such petition. This left the mammoth crowds fuming, but their message had been clearly communicated, or so it would appear. Tonight on The Probe, we ask, what was the real impact of this 3-day demonstration drive? What did it really achieve? And where, as a nation, do we go from here in terms of exercising the right to demonstrate? We shall answer those questions shortly when we engage our guests. Before that, however, we took the trouble to interact with some known figures, members of the community, citizens of our land, who had some thoughts to share on this 3-day endeavor. Before I introduce to you the guests we're hosting tonight on this all-important topic, let's listen to what these people had to say.
Well, so you can see the musician Kwao Kese. Let's speak to him and find out from him why he's taking part in this project. Kwao, welcome to JoyNews.
And strong, we are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved. And make a motherland. Say our rights cannot.
So hip-hop musician Kwao Kese. Find out from him. Wow, why are you taking part in this protest?
I'm a Ghanaian, and things are not going right. You see, so I have to let the government know. I have to let the president know. I have to let the world know. All these people here are expressing their anger that things are not going well. So I'm here to, support and be part of Ghana, and this is what we are doing. Everybody is suffering. It's affecting everybody in this country. So the government have to do something.
Now, many people are raising concerns on social media, Twitter. They're saying that people like your colleagues who have a louder voice, they feel some of them are not adding their voice to project what these protesters, the concerns that they are raising. What do you make of that?
Many of my colleagues have been bought. Many of these artists who are not voicing, politically motivated, they've been bought, so they can't say anything. It happens. We know most of them have been endorsed. They have endorsed the government in a way that when things are going wrong, they can't voice out. We have not endorsed anybody. We endorse Ghana. We want a better Ghana. So that's why we are here. We don't care who is voicing out and who is not. At the end of the day, Ghana and the world will see that things are not going right. That's why we are out here. They are all the same. What we deserve of them is that this is Ghana and this is 2023. We see what is going on around the world. There's internet. People see it day in and day out. We feel that Ghana can do better. Any government, be it NPP, NDC, CPP, PPP, whoever, Ghana first. Ghana should be the first agenda on any political parties.
Hi, what's your name?
Princess Vivian Nkrumah.
Princess.
Vivian Nkrumah.
Oh, okay, that rings a bell. Related to Nkrumah in any way?
Yes, he's my grandfather.
Nkrumah is your grandfather?
Yes,
okay. Tell me, why are you taking part in this protest?
Well, I'm taking part of the protest because the cost of living crisis in this country has reached a point where the minimum wage is less than a loaf of bread. And if that's not enough reason to be out here in the streets, then I don't know what is. I've personally lost women who are incredibly close to me and instrumental in my birth and in my raising because of the poor resources that the healthcare system has. If things don't change, it's going to make living in this country impossible. In fact, living in this country for many people is impossible. So that's why I'm out here protesting.
Well, there are many who are raising concerns. Some of the protesters I've been speaking to here say they feel there's a crackdown on protests, there's a crackdown on free speech. Your grandfather, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, stood for freedom and liberation. What do you make of what is happening? Do you agree with those assertions or you disagree with them?
I think that there is a bit of a disparity between the protesters and the amount of force that is being used to deter us. Because none of us here is armed. The only thing I brought to this protest was water and myself. And if you have entire SWAT teams and water cannons and police force that is being reinforced by the hour that is armed against a group of peaceful demonstrators, then something is wrong.
You've been addressing the crowd. You also engaged the police earlier. What discussions did you hold with the police?
I was actually thanking them for their service as police people, because ask yourself, what is compelling them to stand over there the whole day? It is for security, for the security of the people and for the security of the nation. They are working under power. You know what I'm saying? I can tell you that a lot of them over there support what we do because they know that we're not doing this, or the protest is not a lawless protest. It is not illegal. It is within our constitutional rights to express our grievances. In fact, this is one of the ways government understands the language. You know, it is one of the legal ways that government will understand the plight and the plea of the people. So guess what? It's been going on for 3 days. The first day was unfortunate. A lot of people were arrested, and that was what blew the whole thing out of proportion and went into the news. When I came, I was actually admiring their works, and I was actually also telling my people that it is not a soft way to freedom. It is never an easy way to freedom. You know, to speak to power, you have to face it. And I think that is the downside of it. I don't want them to see that as me. I believe that that is the sacrifice that we all have to go through. Even if now the police raids on us and begins to lash out, Of course, we're going to run for our lives, first and foremost, but that is a sacrifice that we have to know, that nothing comes on a silver platter for you to actually speak out. The Kwame Nkrumah sacrifice for us, the Yasantua sacrifice for us, the many General Atipos and the rest that we read about in our history books, the sacrifice for us. The least some of us can do is to continue to add our voices, our presence, our resources, if maybe to be able to add to the voices that will scream aloud for the people in power to know that we deserve better things to be done for us. My first call is, look at the healthcare situation. Look at the flood that is happening, the drainage systems. In as much as the populace has a role to play, the government has the power to force and instill the people, to obey and align into some developmental plans,
So this is the probe, and we just walked you through happenings over the last 3 days in respect of the Occupy Julorbi protest that took the nation by storm. We're going to get into what was achieved on the back of all of this. Yes, there was talk about economic mismanagement, corruption, and everything in between. Well, we have our guests joining us to elaborate on those matters. We have Maxwell Akakpo. He's my colleague here at JoyNews. He was on the ground through thick and thin, getting us all the action, at a point maybe risking life and limb to get us the footage. We also have in the studio the head of programs at Democracy Hub and a convener of Fix the Country, Benjamin Akakpo, together with someone else, a media personality who was also on the ground. She's a journalist and activist, Bridget Otu. Bridget, a very good evening to you.
Evening, and thank you very much for having me.
It's good to have you. Just hold for me a bit, Benjamin, as well. Good to have you.
Good to have you.
So let's cut to the chase, Maxwell.
Yep.
You were there on the ground.
Yeah.
You saw the action.
Yeah.
I saw the placards.
Yeah.
I saw that young boy with his fist raised, his left fist. He wouldn't be more than 3 or 4 years. Then there was that scene, and you were there at the Greater Accra Regional Police headquarters.
That was the second day of the protest.
Indeed. When you caught some action in there, where some protesters who had been taken inside the facility were being harassed, and I was left aghast because water, a sachet of water, or whatever it was thrown at one of our cameras.
Yeah.
Walk us through,
Yeah, so
what
that happened on the first day when police picked up the protesters just when they started gathering at the 37 Trotro station. So the first batch of protesters who were arrested were taken to the Central Police Station, and then some of them to the Accra Regional Police Headquarters. So the second batch, they were the ones I was interviewing, and then the police came in and arrested them live on camera during the interview, when we're doing the interview, and then bundled them and then put them in a waiting police vehicle. So that episode happened at the Accra Regional Police Headquarters. Then we'd had family members and loved ones of some of the protesters. They gathered outside, demanding to see some of the people who have been arrested, because the family members had expressed concern. Some persons, we are told, were just walking around the 37 Trotro station area when they were picked up by police. So their parents were very concerned, and they were all outside. Outside, talking, raising concerns, and then the next thing we saw, someone from inside opened the gate to the regional police headquarters and then whisked one person inside. Because when you are outside, the regional headquarters walls, these are fortified walls. You can see what is happening inside. We obviously did not know what's going on inside. Then my camera technician, Fruit Adi, he had his tripod on then, so he lifted his tripod, and then we're able to get a good view of what was happening. So we saw some men in mufti manhandling one of the protesters.
Roughing him up.
Yeah, right on the compound, right within the precincts of the Accra Regional Police Headquarters. And there were police officers there. I'm just trying to be careful. And we know, of course, there are police officers who were mufti.
So plain clothes police officers. But it's clear whoever was, those who were perpetrating this action did not feel there was a camera on them.
Exactly.
They did not know they were being recorded.
They did not know then. So they spotted the camera from afar, They pointed at it, and then the next thing we saw, they took a sachet of water and then hit it at the camera. Yeah, nearly destroyed it, but thankfully, Fruits was very, quick.
I mean,
So the impact
it was startling for
like
me. How did you guys on the ground, how did you feel at the time?
I felt a bit disappointed. I felt a bit disappointed because I did not expect things to,
Escalate to that level.
that fast, and I did not expect any more handling to happen within the prisons of, where there's supposed to be the enforcement of the law. Law enforcement, officers around, right within their presence. In fact, some plainclothes men, taking part in that process. I was shocked, but let me say that they redeemed themselves on the last day, and maybe when you come to that, I'll tell you more about the last day, the things that I saw, the observations that I made.
Just to clarify this for me very briefly before I come to Benjamin, there has been talk since that first day, the apprehension. Were there 49 people taken into custody or 56, as mentioned by Bernard Mona when he spoke to me earlier in the week? And when we hear from the IGP, there has been some talk about the fact that he did not necessarily sanction this, that it had happened supposedly on his blind side. There has been that other conversation as well, and of course on day two, from day two onwards, they were allowed to protest. What can you tell us on those two matters?
Well, it would be difficult to tell on whose orders these officers were acting, because on the day, in fact, just some minutes after the policeman smashed the camera with a sachet of water, just when some of the family members were actually outside, I saw some police vehicles coming out of the Accra Regional Police Headquarters. These are top police officers, who were coming out from that compound. So it presupposes that they were in the know, they were there, when all these issues were, playing out. As to whether the IGP himself, the Inspector General of Police, was aware or not, it would be difficult for me to tell. But one thing that I can say is that yesterday, in the heat of things, my sources within the Ghana Police Service told me that the IGP himself was on the ground. He was on the ground.
Did you see him?
At a point, I saw someone who looked like him, but a police officer confirmed to me that indeed he was around. He was around, but where he was, of course, the place was barricaded, and even pressmen were not allowed to go beyond the barricade, and they formed that human wall there. But we were told that he was on the ground, and I might say that things were very different on the last day, on Thursday, and then the last day.
Okay.
That's Friday. And
so 49 or 56?
Well, we know of 49.
49, all right. Thank you, Maxwell. Let me come to Benjamin in the studio. Now, you speak for Democracy Hub as well. What this entire enterprise, this 3-day enterprise, on the first day, some of you got, thrown into police cells, so to speak. Were you one of those?
Yes, I was.
What was the experience like?
I think quite intimidating. At a point, I felt the law itself has been broken by the police. Per the discussions we had with them, this wasn't something that I served them with, and I know very well that within the remit of the law, I went according to the letter, and I've been having back and forth discussions with the regional command and the commander himself. So the behavior of the police was kind of disappointing, and I felt a bit sad, worried that we've organized something and people have actually heeded to that call, come out to throw their support behind us, and they end up in cells for doing nothing wrong.
But you are aware, Benjamin, that the police had, issued notice, given you notice of, an application before a court of law, sort of preventing you from embarking on this demonstration. Yet we heard members of your team. I remember listening to Oliver Barker, former war. He's watching us live now. I've seen him on the live stream. Stating categorically that they would defy that order. Why did you choose to go down that road?
I'd like to reiterate again, the police hasn't served us anything. I think the last meeting I had with the regional commander, he told me that we shouldn't go ahead with the demonstration because we've not agreed on anything. And I remember stating clearly to him that per law, we don't need to agree with the police because they are not the authority when it comes to stopping demonstrations.
But you do need to have some arrangement with them. You do not seek permission from them, but you need some guidance from them. For example, you remember there's the Public Order Act, and that you must not impede other people's rights. Yesterday, for example, there was a situation where I believe some roads were blocked and some people couldn't, drive, and there was traffic. That is also quite a nuisance, isn't it?
Yes, per the inconvenience caused, yes, we do know that there were inconveniences that arise out of this, but I still insist that the police do not have the right to say one cannot demonstrate. And if it comes to words and you can't agree with them, per law, they can't just tell you don't go ahead. They have to go to court, and then court will have to serve you, then you both go and argue over there. Now,
so you're stating categorically that none of you were served with any application for an injunction preventing you from embarking on this demonstration?
Exactly.
None of you as leaders of Democracy Hub?
Exactly.
See.
None of us.
Let me come to Bridget Otu. I'll come back to you, Benjamin. Bridget, what made you embark on this demonstration? What made you join the masses on the streets? And I hear there was a peculiar incident where you were assaulted. Tell us about that.
Right. And I'm already boiling, listening to my colleague there claim that the IGP said it happened on his blind side. It's a palpable lie. It's a lie. The IGP appeared before the committee and said, since he took over, he wanted the Ghana Police Service, PR, to match the international standards, meaning that if any communication is going to come out from the Ghana Police Service, it would be under his supervision, something that has been sanctioned at the head office. So assuming that what went on, he wasn't aware, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He is such a good actor and a liar. I have fallen for his scam before, but not anymore. Now all of that is off. So assuming that he did not know about it, what prevented him from putting that in the statement he released?
But Bridget,
let me start with the BBC journalist.
Just respectfully, Bridget, we do not know the other side. To say categorically that he's a liar is a bit. It's in some poor taste, because we do not have him to respond.
So I should say he doesn't speak the truth. How do you want me to describe it? BBC reporter was arrested. He said no. How? Okay, give me a word to describe that. He said the BBC reporter was not arrested, but he was. So give me the word that would describe somebody who says a thing like that. I know it to be a lie. So give me a word. I'm waiting.
Go ahead, Bridget.
Okay, so the BBC reporter came out and showed that he was sitting at the back of a police pickup, arrested. Fortunately, he filmed it. So if he had not done his report, the IGP put in his report that indeed he was not. As soon as he identified himself, they let him go. But that was not what happened. Again, there was a Metro TV reporter on the compound of the police, Accra Regional Office. They beat her up. It was Inisa Fuseni who saved her, twisted her arm.
The member of parliament, the former member of parliament.
Former, yes. And insisted that she deleted every single video she had of police beating protesters. Let's see, I'm going to give him another benefit of the doubt. He did not see all of that. What about me when I was attacked? Why did that not feature in the report? And if he showed up at the protest yesterday, it was out of embarrassment because none of those PR things worked, and thought that going again, looking for a photo op would help him. It's because he has received such international backlash that he could not hold us down. And that is why he came out. It is not because he doesn't know, because right now we know that every single statement, this is from the IGP when he appeared before the committee saying that nothing comes from anybody. Everything comes from them at the top. So every statement that came out, the IGP was aware. So if there are lies in it, it is on the IGP.
In other words, if everything emanates from that ivory tower, if you like, where the IGP is situated, it must mean that he was fully aware of what was going to happen to the demonstrators. That is your thinking, right?
Not my thinking. That's what it is. He said it. This is what the IGP said. He said, we want the police to match the international standards when it comes to public relations. And so now we are releasing all our press releases from the head office. It means that before the police put out any statement, they will go through the facts, verify from all the sources, and agree and put this out.
Bridget, so I'm only going down this road with you. It's not a tussle. I'm only going down this road with you because you remember that the IGP...
I honestly believe it's one of the reasons why I feel like we give them too many passes. We'd like to sit on the fence, call them a liar when they lie, because I don't know any other way to call it. Okay, they are untruthful. it also means they are a liar.
No,
That's just what it means.
I am merely saying, for example, if you recall, when the IGP, before that parliamentary probe, was asked to talk about the interdiction of some of these officers, you remember what he said? That he recused himself and all of that.
Council.
So I'm only trying to imagine whether there was any such scenario.
The PR too, you need the police council to issue a PR on whether a BBC journalist was arrested or not. No,
all right. So from where you sit, you clearly do not believe the IGP when he says he was not cognizant of this. But moving past that, the action,
it would work. He didn't think that the BBC journalist would do the story because the BBC journalist was my classmate, for instance. And he said to me initially he didn't want to do the story until it became so prevalent. People were talking about it to the point where I'm sure BBC directed him to do the story. And fortunately for him, he was so smart, he filmed himself behind at the back of the police pickup. And so he had evidence to show he had been arrested.
Right. In terms of you're getting, some of the demonstrators getting arrested, we know we've listened to Oliver Barker-Vumawa say, for example, that, and I think Benjamin will corroborate that, their phones were seized, car keys, among others, were taken from them. Other items on their person were taken from them. And we also heard that your dress was ripped, you were accosted. Please walk us through, what do you know about these two scenarios?
Yes. So, I mean, I am not a violent person. I'm not strong physically. I cannot fight anybody. I don't think I can even fight a woman, not to talk about a man. So as a concerned citizen, I wanted to take part in the protest because there were so many things that bothers me as a person and as a journalist. Being able to speak freely is very important to me. Having my colleagues take part in a protest. Yesterday, I was so happy to see, I think, Helen, I saw AJ Sapo, and I said, yeah, that's what we want to see. So those were things that moved me naturally to join. And then I get there. The process is over because obviously they had arrested about 49 of them. But I thought that I was a citizen in good standing. I could go there and use my name to act as surety to get bail. Beyond that, like I mentioned, I met a woman, whose son had also been taken in there. And I thought that, look, having hosted you and the police in the past, I had some sort of currency, at the very least, to see where they had kept these people. So I went there on that, and unfortunately, it didn't work, just to ask to see where they were. And also, I had a reporter in there, I wanted to see her, and they didn't agree. So I stood outside, and then a gentleman approached me, a gentleman called George, and he and I are going to sue the police officer who attacked me. I'm sure in the coming weeks you would hear about it. And he approaches me with a phone and asks me to join a Twitter space on the occupyjulorbihouse. And I said, why not, to tell him why I was there. So I was on there talking about my frustrations, what I want to see change. I don't want a situation whereby, I'll talk about journalism, conditions of service, and then I will be silenced, or a politician would say, okay, we don't like this presenter, take her out. And, I've been a victim of that, where a politician would say, we don't like this person, so take her out. I really want those things to stop, that kind of impunity to stop. So while I was on there, on my blind side, and then this guy charges at us. And I have to be honest and tell you, at the time when it happened, and I think when I granted an interview, I did say that, I thought they were grabbing the guys around me because I was wondering, what could I have possibly done for anybody?
Which guy was this? Who was he? Do you know?
The George, at the time, I didn't know who he was, but he was just, he was a citizen journalist. I don't know what he does, but he was acting more like a journalist because he gave me a phone to speak to a Twitter space. So while I was on there talking, that was when the policeman charged at us. He was in plain clothes. We've identified him, so we know he's a policeman because he wears uniform. But on that day, he was not in uniform. So on my blind side, I thought they were coming for the guys around me because I was completely blindsided, no idea that I was the one who was under attack until I saw the video of them pushing. So the guy holds on to my bag. And then, I was also being pushed along, and I thought, okay, what could I be? Okay, let me just stay somewhere. But obviously, so in pulling, they ripped my shirt, and my stomach was bare. Fortunately, there was another guy who gave me a shawl to wrap around my waist. Yeah, and the rest you saw it. So it was later when I saw the video, I realized the guy was pushing me, and the reason he was pushing me was very simple. When they push you inside, like your camera captured, They beat you up, and they beat the gentleman up. He's got cats behind him. He's put on his social.
So you feel
media
that was what the intent was, to get you behind
once he gets
the barrier
you inside.
and rough
But
you
I
up.
think that when he got to the gates, the YK Mensa guy knew who I was, so I'm sure that's why he relaxed there, because he would have pulled me further in. But he relaxed. So I didn't really get what happened. I was wondering why they took the gentleman, whom I got to know later as George, and so that's how my dress came off. Yeah.
All right, Bridget, hold your horses for me. Let me come back into the studio, and we're hoping to interact with some other people on the probe tonight. I see a lot of you sending in your comments. Keep them coming. For those of you listening to us as well on Joy 99.7 FM, we'll try to collate your thoughts and put them together and share them. Benjamin, this was a 3-day exercise. Yeah. It's come to an end. You were not allowed anywhere near, should we say, the precincts of the Jubilee House, which you coined as the JoyNews in your hashtag. Would you say this was something that had culminated in any positive end? You were not allowed to do what you intended to achieve in the end.
I think it was.
Was this fruitful in the end?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was. We got to show Ghanaians that, first of all, you don't need a permission from the police. That is a big win for us.
Okay.
The fact that...
But I thought that had been established. If you read 21(1)(d) of the relevant section of the 1992 Constitution, if you look at the Public Order Act, if you look at the case IGP versus the MPP versus the IGP court case, all of these point in a certain direction. I thought that had been established already.
Yeah, it is in writing, but when it comes in practice, you don't find the police agreeing to these things. And it takes real balls to be able to say, we're going beyond this, we're defying you. If you say we shouldn't go ahead, we will march. That is what we did on Thursday. I think for the first time, Ghanaians have shown that we can come together and put our differences aside and stand for a cause. Yes, we didn't get closer to the presidential house, but we're able to send our message as way back as being at the 37 roundabout. And we got the international community, we got the local media talking about it. I think everybody in Ghana now knows that there was something that happened called occupyjulorbihouse. And our frustrations, our demands and wants were successfully pushed across to the other end of the spectrum. So I think it was a success.
Was your phone also taken?
Yes, it's still with the police. It's not been returned yet.
Your phone is still with the police?
Yes.
What else that belongs to you is still with
I still have my shirt with them. I have my cap with them. And then I have my 2 phones with them.
Your 2 phones?
Yes.
On what basis did they take your phones away from you?
So when we got to the regional command, we were instructed to sit on the floor, which we said we won't because we've not been arrested. We don't even know why they hustled us into the bus. These PIDs or policemen without uniforms started attacking us. So they forcefully took our phones from us, pushed us into an office and started assaulting us. Della Goodhart was slapped on the hand with a metal bar.
Slapped?
Yes, on the hand.
With a metal bar?
Metal bar, yes. And
can you describe this metal bar? I mean...
Yeah, it was a bar, a slab of metal.
Slab of metal?
Yes, was used to hit her on the hand. And then one of our protesters was also slapped by a police officer inside that office, and we couldn't record any of this because we don't have our phones with us. They took everything. Even, I think they went as far as seizing my bank card and my Ghana...
Your ATM card?
Yes,
everything. Your Ghana card?
Yes,
everything was taken?
Yes, was taken away.
If you saw these police officers, would you be able to identify them?
Yes, I will. All of them. And one of them actually works at the Central Command. He was there and he witnessed everything. He's called Officer Bani. He was
a witness?
Yes, to everything. And he didn't do anything to stop what was happening within that office, even though they knew very well that they can't assault people.
As of now, has the police got back to you in terms of these personal effects that are still in their custody?
So when I met the IGP, he said, when I'm free, I can go there for it. I got there and the police officer said...
You can go where? To the Central Command?
And take my items. I got there and I was told that unless the regional commander is present, they won't give my items to me.
Is that same for your other colleagues, Oliver and the others?
I think apart from me and then one other gentleman, everyone has gotten their devices back.
Are you concerned that maybe these gadgets could have been interfered with in these days of cybersecurity and cyber stalking and everything like that?
So far, most of the guys that were arrested are reporting that their calls are being forwarded. So we are sure it's been bugged. And
you are saying here that you suspect these gadgets have been bugged?
Yes. And being the organizer and my name on paper, I'm sure they have a key interest in whatever I do. So I'm quite a bit worried that maybe they might install Pegasus on my device and spy on me, because I don't really trust this government and the police service at all.
Tell me, we also had some celebrities, before I come back to Maxwell, we had some celebrities on the ground, so to say. I saw E.L. Elom show up on day 2. I hear he left before the real action could begin. We've interviewed Kwalkese, Nkrumah's, the Osagyefo's granddaughter, among a host of others. Stoneboy was on the ground as well. But I saw a post from Sarkodie also saying that while all of this is good for people to vent, on the matters in the country, some are just using this to chase clout. And I'm sure that was a shade at maybe some of you, and also some of those so-called celebrities on the ground. How do you feel about that?
Disappointed as a celebrity.
He didn't mention names, of course.
Yeah, I think Sarkodie is someone who communicates quite clearly. And when it's time that citizens are agitating or demanding for better, he comes out and tweets proverbs. We don't think that with the reach he has, he should be tweeting things written in parables. Be straightforward and talk to us. These are guys that you communicate with every day. And whether someone is chasing clout or not, their presence actually counts. So we want him to join us next time when we are out in the streets to come and also chase clouts. That is what we want. We don't
want him to also come and chase clout?
That's what we want. We don't want him to hide behind his phone and be calling out people or tweeting things at us that we are there chasing clouds. No one was there saying that they wanted to build followership or anything. We are there because the state of the economy is crumbling, and the cost of living in Ghana here is rising every day, and we are suffering. That is why we are out there demanding for better for ourselves.
Mahama Osman on Facebook says, it's really embarrassing in the 21st century to see Ghanaian citizens being molested this way. And I have noticed in recent times that back in the 90s, of course, we had the Kume Preko, Sieme Preko, and Vieme Preko demonstrations spearheaded by none other than Mr. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo himself, together with the likes of Dr. Reku Brobe, who recently hosted me for that, Banredu Memorial Lecture. And he said certain things to me that I cannot say on air, but it paints quite an interesting picture, which is why at this juncture, we would like to bring into the conversation the National Youth Organizer of the MPP, Salam Mustafa. Mr. Mustafa, a very good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Ivan, and your viewers and listeners alike. Your panel.
Mustafa, you're speaking to Benjamin Akakpo. That is my name.
Oh, I'm speaking true form.
Thank you. What do you make of this 3-day endeavor, the demonstrations, and all that happened? Just briefly, I want your quick thoughts on everything that happened.
It is the constitutional right of a group of Ghanaians to demonstrate. It's well enshrined in our constitution, and I want to take this opportunity to say kudos to them for organizing somewhat a peaceful protest to drum home the points that they wanted to. Albeit on the first day there were issues that we all didn't like, and we have all condemned it as such, and we hope that some of these things never recur. I mean, we have had a very unpleasant experience of being beaten in 2015, so we have received these things before, and we hope that it becomes a learning curve for the police, and that they do not repeat some of these things. Looking at the age and time we find ourselves, young people come out to protest, which is fundamentally given them by the constitution of the land. I don't think that the police has any business whatsoever to molest anyone whatsoever. I mean, so that's my first inclination. But I mean.
Well, you say the police had no business, interfering with these people, arresting them, of course. Even their personal effects were taken, and now some of them, like Benjamin Akakpo in the studio, feels their gadgets may have been bugged, so to speak. That's the extent to which this has gone. our camera was pelted with water. Some people were assaulted. It goes beyond just 21st century policing, right? I mean, what do you think is the way forward in that regard?
I can relate to that. In 2015, ours was much more serious. We were, stormed with hot water cannons, rubber bullets, tear gas. Ours was horrific. But be it as it may, I say that it's not acceptable in any form or shape. And that's why in this era, I do not expect this to recur, and that the police should take a cue, and that when people want to demonstrate, it is not the time to now put on shenanigans, and we shouldn't see it recur again. In 2015, we had the unpleasant situation where a young man was shot in the eye, Justice Akakpo, subsequently went blind in the eye, developed complications, and died. I don't think that it is, something nice to repeat. And that's why I'm saying that we have had an unpleasant experience, and that we shouldn't be seeing some of these things years later happen again. So we all condemn it in no uncertain terms. And I hope the police is taking a serious notice of this, and that they go back to their drawing board, their policing ethics, and ensure that no day again will such a thing happen under any circumstance.
Your stance, Mustafa, is a curious one. While I applaud you for it as one who would always err on the side of caution as far as the law is concerned, it appears that regime in, regime out, administration in and out, we weaponize the police. Is that not merely what we are seeing? That with an administration in power, everything will be done to cow the public into submission against or in favor of government?
Not at all. Government hasn't told the police that it didn't want the demonstration. If you have followed, in one of the Fix the Country demonstrations, the Deputy Chief of Staff at the Office of the President came out to receive a petition. So if we are against demonstrations, government wouldn't be so amenable to coming out to receive petitions. It's one of the ways in which citizens, voice out their spleen. So it cannot be that government would be blocking it. I have participated and organized, demonstrations in the past. So demonstrations are something that I'm used to. I know them. So I don't see why, as it were, we always run behind government is trying to do something to stop the people.
So let's elaborate on that point.
I don't think that there's any attempt whatsoever to cow people into submission, and certainly not the Ghanaian people that we all know. You can never cow the Ghanaian people.
Well, it was the same Ghanaian people who were bundled on day one, 49 of them, some say 56, taken to police cells without much knowledge of what their crime was. What the police were supposed to do was basically escort them, give them some guidance, but that was not what was done. Now, their personal effects were taken. But let's move away from there. You say that all of this should not happen, yet they meant to go to the Jubilee House. Lawyers like Kofi Bentel have said, it may be a security zone, but it is not exempt. After all, people use the Jubilee House route and that road. They were not allowed to get to the Jubilee House. They were not allowed to present their petition. Is that the listening government that we have?
Oh, I don't work with the police, so I cannot...
I am talking now about the NPP, not the police service.
The NPP is extremely listening, and I made reference to the fact that
you did not go out and interact with the demonstrators. You did not receive their petition. So much for listening, right?
If they had gotten to where they intended to, if there was communication that they were going to present a petition to an official of Jubilee House, I'm sure that someone would have come out to
Mustafa,
yes.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. You are telling me here, and all Ghanaians, those listening, those watching, that if the demonstrators had made it to the Jubilee House, you would have accepted their petition, but you knew that the police was impeding them from getting to the Jubilee House. I'm sorry, but this is not adding up for me.
Well, you are saying that it doesn't add up, for you. I am saying that I don't work for the police and I don't give them instruction. I don't say stop them. If the police has, any information, for example, that, maybe allowing them go would, lead to some situation, they may. But as I speak, government has, had calls, Jubilee House had calls to come out to receive petitions. I'm sure it was arrangement between their organizers and, the hierarchy at Jubilee House. If such arrangement was done, I'm not sure that anyone would have refused to attend to them. That I do not believe.
Mr. Mustafa, just hold for me. Bridget, you have some thoughts to share on this. How do you feel about all this? I mean, I am lost. Maybe you understand better what Mr. Mustafa is saying. You would have to unmute, Bridget.
Okay, yes, I have unmuted. I'm sorry, what was he saying?
Okay, so he was talking about the fact that, look, if the demonstrators had made it to the Jubilee House, there would have been someone to receive their petition, but they couldn't make it there. And I was suggesting to him that, look, the police were impeding them. How do you expect them to get there?
I think that was the whole point. The point of preventing them from going there is because they did not want to receive it. They say it's a security zone, but it was not a security zone when Meek Mill came in. Security zone, but people have had weddings at the previous castle that we've had. I feel like they discriminate, select, pick and choose who they want to be nice to, who they don't want to be nice to. But unfortunately, I mean, these are persons who are apolitical. And I think this is such a huge constituency that I thought the government should take advantage of, because these are apolitical. They don't support NDC, they don't support NPP. And, when I took part, I could hear they say, oh, no, we are tired of the NDC, NPP thing. So if the government has taken advantage of the constituency which is this huge constituency, and just hear them out. They are frustrated. They're not asking for much. They are frustrated. They just want the basics. So if they are taking advantage, I thought it would have worked well for them and say, look, we hear you. We get it that things are not going on well, but we hear you. We have received it. We are going to work on it. I thought that would have been like a perfect assembly, but unfortunately, they missed that opportunity.
Benjamin, I found it really interesting when he said that if you had made it there, they would have accepted your petition. I mean, after this 3-day widely, publicized event, what is going to be your next move in that regard? Right before I go to Maxwell.
So, we know very well that this was quite deliberate. With all our interactions with the police, each time we want to march or protest, they keep on saying certain things like the ministries is a security zone, this blah blah is a security zone. So they use the police basically to shield.
When you say they, you mean the government?
Yes.
The government uses the police
to shield state institutions.
But do you have any evidence to back that?
Yes. When we're doing the march to Parliament, I sat in the meeting with the IGP. Our route was supposed to go through ministries. He said we can't use ministries. So they blocked that whole part. So we had to go through the Independence Square to Parliament. We don't know why we have to live in a state where we can't march to our state institutions to go and ask for answers from them. So we feel, when we know very well from our interactions with the police, that they've actually weaponized the police to sort of like protect state institutions and the elites away from we the people.
Listening to Mustafa, how did you feel about his reactions?
Initially,
he does agree that modern policing shouldn't involve what we saw. But on the other hand, he says...
Initially, I was kind of okay with what he was saying, but towards the end, I was kind of confused and worried. Because if he is saying that if we made it there, was he trying to say that we should have fought with the police and made our way to the Flagstaff House? Because then that would have been something that people would have been shot. Because the police, even on the Thursday when they came to do the arrest, they were cocking their guns on the other side of the streets, thinking that maybe we might actually throw a challenge to them and fight with them. But none of us did that. So I'm kind of surprised that he was saying what he was saying.
And I think it's an important point that you're raising.
How the police behave when it comes to handling protesters in Ghana here.
I'm saying that it's an important point that he's raising there, that there were policemen in plain clothes who were planted among the protesters, who started throwing things at the police. Fortunately, the protesters were so cultured, so aware and alert of these methods that when they saw anybody with that kind of behavior, they removed the person from them. Because if he is a policeman who has been planted there and he's doing that, he knows that he would not be shot because the police are looking for an opportunity to attack.
Okay, I get that point.
And I think that is an important point that he's making there.
Right.
Because they came in fully riot gear, in helmets. They had nothing. They're just wearing their T-shirts and their jeans. The police is protected. Their head, they have their helmets.
Right,
on.
Bridget.
So even if they threw a stone at them,
point made on that.
Of fire will be a gun. And who knows? We know police, even when they say it's rubber bullets, it's actually a live bullet that's in there. So
right.
I'm so happy that they spotted all these in there. And they plucked it before the police could even act.
Sure. Thank you, Bridget. Maxwell, so that's an interesting angle to the conversation. Again, you heard Mustafa say that even in 2016 it was worse and all of that. I was just thinking 2 wrongs don't make a right. I'll go back to him with that bit. But what else happened that was really crucial as far as this 3-day event? I mean, we've not seen something like this in quite a while. And in terms of the planting, I don't know whether you'd want to. You remember there was a demonstration around the Odona area. I think you were there.
Yeah, I was there.
And there was a similar incident of someone being planted.
Yeah, and the organizers made that allegation that the police planted provocateurs, amongst the demonstrators.
Right.
And that gave them the opportunity to use the tear gas. And I was affected by that, by the way. But I just want to say that there's a new flame of political awareness and consciousness that have been ignited in young people, and that was visible at the 3-day protest. This conversation started on Twitter, but social media too, Twitter now X, has been used as a mobilization to get the young people onto the streets. And many of them were there just for one goal, just to drum home their point. I've been to many demonstrations, I've been to many protests, but this one was unique in the sense that the people I interacted with all had various reasons why they decided to come there, to come and protest. So a lady I spoke to, Patience, for instance, told me that her mother died in the year 2020. She lost her father also in the same year, 2020, because there was no oxygen at the health facility where they were taken to. And she is.
I've had an incident that I had to post on social media at a point in time. I could have died.
Oh.
I went to many different public hospitals, which is why nowadays I've sort of advised myself. But you go on.
Yeah, musician Stoneboy also had a similar concern, reason why he was there, to protest. We're all talking about the motorway. He also had concerns about the motorway. He talked about how he had an accident, on that stretch. Another thing that caught my attention was the protesters themselves going around picking trash. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So they took over the streets, the entire street, the Olusegun Obasanjo Highway, the Gifford Road, the Liberation Road.
So these were very disciplined protesters.
Exactly. And they were all going around, picking up trash. And there were sponsors who actually brought food to the protesters. So the protesters were eating fried rice with chicken, with drinks. They had breakfast, they had lunch, and they had dinner as well.
Well, we'll see what happens in the future with similar incidents. But I'm going to be taking, gentlemen and lady, I'm going to be taking your final thoughts. Bridget, I'll start with you. Each one of you has 20 seconds. Or better still, let me start with Mustafa because it's been a while. Mustafa, are you with me?
Yeah, man, can you hear me?
Yes, 20 seconds each, please.
But
if you go past that, we'll have to take you off.
You called for us to have a conversation. I am muted out, and Bridget and the other gentleman.
You joined pretty late. That's the only concern. To be fair, you joined pretty late.
Yeah, I was told that when you are ready for me, you will call. So I was waiting for the call.
Fine. Just go ahead with your thoughts, sir.
Yeah. So I heard, amongst other things, Bridget allude that there were plainclothes police people planted amongst them for maybe nefarious reasons. But I think that if you understand how the security system works, mostly there is no day that demonstrations happen that you don't have plainclothes police people amongst the demonstrators. They are also to find out miscreants who join the protesters and cause problems and all that. So they are not there for very bad reasons. If you see them amongst the protesters, they actually come to ensure that the security is well provided for the people.
Okay.
So the allegations that
Mustafa, we really have to go. If you have something to say, this is the time. We really have to go.
Oh.
Our time is up. I'm giving each one of you a little time. We don't have the whole day. Mr. Mustafa, could you please wrap?
Very well. I think that we should all understand that we are all players as far as building a democracy in this country is concerned. Also, as young people, the progress of our nation is concerned. We are all minded by the same resolve that all Ghanaians have reprieve. And this government, like, all other people, are working to ensure that we achieve that particular end that we are.
All right. I think your point is made.
Just a minute, please.
Bridget, your turn now. Bridget Otu, please go ahead.
I just want to say that if the process achieved absolutely nothing at all, it shook the government, first of all. They have created more than 10 hashtags to counter this, diluting a Jubolu, Jubile, Julobu, all of that. It didn't work. Today, the General Secretary of the NPP is out with another hashtag, I choose to be positive. And what is amazing about this is that persons are countering with the occupyjulorbihouse using the same I choose to be positive by telling them about the problems of the country. And also it has motivated the youth to say, we're staging another one in December. So December is going to be a dirty demonstration December. So I want everybody, young person, feel inspired that you pay the politician, you voted them into power, so come out and join them. It's apolitical. Join them and let your voices be heard. I'm so happy when the doctors were speaking about their conditions of service and the challenges in the hospital. And that's all I have to say.
All right, Bridget, don't go away yet. We've been magnanimously granted some extra time. That is above my pay grade, but the powers that be have granted us extra time, which would allow me then to also let Mustafa have more time to also share his thoughts. Mustafa, are you still with us?
I am.
Great. Good to know that you're still with us. So at least this is where we've come to in this conversation. And I think it's only fair that we continue from where Mustafa left off. But for those of you listening to us live on Joy 99.7 FM, this is where we're going to have to let go so that we continue with the rest of our programming there. However, if you want to continue with the conversation, you can join us on JoyNews live on Facebook or on your TV. Okay, so we continue from where we left off. Mustafa, now that we have extra time, I think it's only fair to start with you so that you can expand on some of those matters you were talking about. I found it pretty interesting, and I made the point, 2 wrongs don't make a right. You started talking about 2016 and what may have happened. We've seen all those gory incidents. And I want to avert your mind to this. I wasn't that old, but I saw what happened in the 90s with the Kumi Preko, Siemi Preko, Riemi Preko demonstrations under someone who had been a former military leader. People were not manhandled like we're seeing now. You can talk about some of the scenes, but I almost feel as though in the 90s when we felt things were really, it was just from military governance into democracy, things were not as bad as now when our democracy should have come of age, we're seeing. How do you react to that?
Well, I will still go back to the same point I made, that this thing should not recur. The fact that it happened in 2016, we condemned it, it was brutal, it shouldn't happen. And I say in all sincerity, I followed the demonstration, the protest. What happened in 2016 was more gory than we saw, but it doesn't justify it in any sense. And I'm saying that it should be a wake-up call to the police that this thing should not be the story that comes after the event is done. We should be discussing the bile of the issues that led to the protest. That should be the discussions we should be having, because in all of these things we want progress. We want the betterment of our society. And like Bridget said, we are young people. You see, I released a statement today, and I have taken my time to catalog a lot of the things that we have done to ensure that there's progress in this country. Of course, it's working.
Yeah, but Mustafa, I'm glad you mentioned your statement. Your statement, you literally rubbished what they put out. I thought it was so unfair.
No, I didn't rubbish anything.
You said it's the usual rhetoric.
I acknowledge
nothing,
and
no focus.
I went ahead.
Wow. That's so heartbreaking to read from you.
What we have
Bridget,
you said something. Let Mustafa react, please.
Upset about what is going on. And I thought that you should be more empathetic and not dismiss them.
We are fixing the country as demanded. And of course, this government was put into place, was voted for not to come and sleep, but to ensure that problems are fixed. So today, a project that has been on our books for God knows how long, it has taken the Akufo-Addo administration to fix it, the dualization of the Kumasi-Accra Highway. Almost, governments in this Fourth Republic have all tried it and didn't succeed. But it's taking this government to make it happen. So we may not like the pace of development, but we cannot say that nothing is happening. We all want to see more. As a young person who lives in this country, my family, everything, I also want to live in a society that we're also getting, more. So we're all looking for the same things. And this government is also trying to ensure that it meets its, people, halfway, as far as the bargain is concerned. There's responsibility and there's right. We must also ensure that our responsibilities, to ensuring that Ghana makes progress is also on the right path to meeting government at the
let me just take you on, Mustafa, let me take you on that bit about fixing the country and letting Ghana make the sort of progress that you speak of. So many things come to mind. Recently, I was talking about taxation. Now we even hear of some celebrity taxes and all of that. I do not know how true that is. Of course, withholding tax 7.5%.
We all don't know how true that is.
Just hold for me. Just hold for me. I will land. Inflation is at an almost unprecedented high. Even the 40+ percentage points that we now talk of and celebrate is the lowest in about 11 months. As we speak, Ghana is about 4th or 5th, if memory serves, on African countries with the highest cost of food vis-a-vis yearly income, among other things. You're talking about the cost of living. You're talking about fuel. And this is an administration that has had the biggest boons on COVID alone from COVID-19. You secured over 21 billion. You have had funds from many different entities, donor countries, allies, and all of that. We have more oil fields than we've ever had at any point in this country, more resources than any other administration. We've borrowed more than many other, in fact, all other governments put together. Yet we are where we are. Is there any reasoning, any rational way of explaining this away?
Of course, you go around the country. Accra alone is not Ghana. Ben, I travel a lot.
What would make you think that I am thinking Accra is Ghana?
Kindly. I travel a lot per the dictates of my work. And district by district, when you go, you'll be amazed at the level of projects you see. The roads being done, schools being built. You'll just be amazed. And of course, all of these things come from the taxes that we pay, from the loans that we contract, and all the other resources that we look out for development. We have taken audacious projects like free SHS that we are funding. Today, you go to our schools, secondary schools, and every senior high school has seen an upgrade of dormitories, classrooms, and so on and so forth. All these things have come from resources that we have taken either through taxes or through loans that we have contracted. But it's also not true that we have received some 21 billion in COVID support and so on and so forth. When you go back to the
Mustafa, what did I just hear you say? Are you saying that you didn't get those sums of money from,
I didn't say that.
From donor countries?
No, I didn't say that.
So you got the money?
When you go to...
no, Mustafa, please, I want you to clarify. Did you or did you not get the money? Because you are suggesting almost as though I was spewing untruths.
Support. Yes, IMF gave support to virtually every single country. When the system...
Mustafa, did Ghana get those sums of money or not?
Of course, Ghana did, not to the quantum that you are mentioning. And you also admit that when COVID hit, teachers, nurses, everybody was paid. Nobody missed a month's salary in this country. We did all that. There was light on, there was water, and so on and so forth. So we did not just, wait for the country to sink on its knees before. And if you follow other jurisdictions in America, they were sending paychecks to houses. Here we also did business support to ensure that some businesses do not collapse. All that was part of the support the IMF brought in. And I can tell you from where I sit, if you go to do a digging with the World Bank, will tell you that they didn't give the fiscal cash to government, to disburse. What we sent to them was data, and they were doing a lot of disbursement. And that's why when government sent, when they demanded for accounts, what government sent, the IMF said that, okay, we are okay with this because they have been part of the system in disbursing these resources. So we may not like the current system, but of course, the difficulties have been occasioned by these exogenous factors, and we're all grappling with it.
Okay.
Indeed, you are right about inflation. Just let me make that point and calm down. Inflation is high. Today, as we speak, America is grappling with inflation. UK, other, world.
What is the rate of inflation in the United States? Do you know? Mustafa, you just said America is grappling with inflation. I'm asking you, do you know the rate of inflation in the United States?
Their rate of inflation is 3.7%.
You sound almost as though that pause requires some...
Usually, I have the inflation tracker. I can send it to you.
Right.
America's inflation has been around 1.2, 1.1. The highest they've gone is 8%. And when they do 8%, it's about we doing like 25%, 30% here because of how volatile our markets are here and how strong their markets are. So when they
Mustafa, you know where our inflation is currently, right?
Yes, 40% and coming down because we went so up and inflation is currently on the downward trend. And we continue to urge that the policies, monetary policies being put in place, other governmental policies put in place to ensure that inflation comes down completely are enforced to ensure that inflation keeps coming down, because that's what will stabilize the prices of goods and services and ensure that the cost of living also comes down. Because we all feel it. I go to the market. Where Bridget buys her food from the same place, I also buy mine.
Okay, all right. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. The political class usually would tell you, I mean, we've heard Maxwell and Benjamin, we've heard that we are in this together and all of that. But clearly, when you look at the tail of the tape and you look at things goings on, the political class are not in this together with us. We're in a different milieu. Every week when I go and purchase fuel, it is a struggle. Yes, it is a struggle when I go and purchase fuel every week. I don't know how much that is for those in power, and that is where the cookie crumbles. But coming back to you, this trend where people want to demonstrate, especially young people, and there's a pushback from the police service, which you say has been weaponized. Mustafa does not feel that is the case. But how dangerous is it? And I pose that question in the context of the military endeavors into governance that we've seen across the sub-region, Western Africa, Central Africa. It's becoming a problem. Insurgency is a problem in the region as well. We've had a situation in some pockets of the northern region. I don't want to mention specifically, but that in itself creates a recipe. What does it mean? Because some have said that it could blow up someday if young people, vibrant people, no work, no education for some of them, no skill, they keep being prevented from airing their views. What do you think?
Like I keep on saying, if you don't allow people to speak out and you try to suppress or try to compress their anger within, when it explodes, no one will be able to control it. So what we are currently doing is controlled anger. That is why we try to go through the process.
Controlled anger?
Yes, this is controlled anger. If you don't allow us to control this and you allow us to go out of the remit of the law, it might be dangerous for everyone else. That's why we keep on doing these things. And we have that fervent hope that government will one day listen. And like our position from Fix the Country, we do not think that the solution lies in the military. We still believe that democracy is what will give us a solution that we need. But then we, the people, have to be heard in this process. And we have to feel that when it comes to our state itself, the biggest opposition has to be we, the people. In Ghana here, within our political space, basically what we've been doing for some time now is the fact that we leave that opposition in the hands of parties to play for us. And we, the people, are laid back. This is something that we are trying to change now. We are trying to bring the people to the discussion table. Now, the main thing we've been asking from government is that you give us the tools to be able to do that. We do not think that just demonstrating within the law is enough. We want certain things to be enacted, like we have in Kenya, where we can amass signatures to directly implement laws through referendums. We want these kind of tools available to us as Ghanaians, so that if something is happening within the state and we are not proud of it or we don't like it, we can have that direct process that we can use to change those things. We don't have that here. So basically what we turn into are voting machines. And when it's time that we feel like something is not right and we want to vent out, the police then comes in to say that you can't do this, you can't do that. I can't remember the first Fix the Country demonstration that we did in Accra. I was assaulted and harassed by the police at TUC. So these are the first time they've been doing this. And they went to court on our blind side, got a judge to give an ex parte injunction and slapped it on us. So when I say that the police have weaponized against we the people, I am saying that not out of something that someone is telling me, but something that I've actually experienced, not once, not twice, but multiple times, not just in Accra here.
I'll come back to you briefly before I go to Maxwell as well. Owas Jr. sends in this message. He says, these politicians are taking us for a ride. It will get to the point where they can't deceive us anymore, and they will pay the price. Hopefully we don't get there. Just before I go on to Maxwell, in all of this, how does Democracy Hub fix the country? How do you feel about Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency the President? And I pose that question in context. He was in the United Nations, speaking, talking about Ghana in a glowing manner and all of that. And this was happening in his country. People have accused him that, look, when the George Floyd thing happened, you were tweeting, you were doing this and that. Things are happening. And there's practically no comment. And with the harassment and everything, where do you situate the president in all of this? Himself, a former leader of serial demonstrations.
Nanado before and after, basically, I might use this word, maybe if it comes out. He's a con artist, basically. And if he's...
Wait. Con artist, no, you can't. I think you should retract that. But if you feel let down by the president or something, you can.
I do, and
but con artist, please.
I feel that is more.
No, I want you to take it back.
Okay, I retract that.
Good, thank you.
I retract that. I feel is more.
Why would you retract it? What does a con artist mean?
Bridget, please. When I come to you, Bridget, you can express your sentiments. Go ahead, Benjamin.
I feel that the president is more worried about his image outside Ghana than what is actually in Ghana here. So if something is happening within our country, he doesn't care. Albert was killed by the police, I think in Izima. Albert, we did something around that. We organized a conference at CDD around that issue. The president didn't say anything about that. The police went into Idra and shot and maimed people. The president didn't say anything about that. But if something should happen outside Ghana, he went as far as tweeting about an old cathedral in Paris.
Oh, the Notre Dame.
Yes.
When it went up in flames.
And things are happening within your country and you don't hear the president saying anything. I would like to say something about what the MPP guys said about COVID and all that. Ghana is the only country that is still paying COVID tax 2 years after COVID. These are some of the things that we've been talking about. We feel like there are way too many taxes within the country. And as at Fix the Country and Democracy, we are saying the government has from now till November ending. If we do not find certain things changing, yes, we have our long-term goals that we are demanding for. But the short-term things are, we want that BOG, whatever they are building, to be halted.
The headquarters?
Stalled. Yes, to be stalled. We want ministers to be struck down. If the
But the Bank of Ghana has given copious explanation about why they need.
We don't want to listen to that. The Bank of England has been there since 18s. They've not built something new. We don't know how much they contribute to this economy to be spending our taxes. So we don't want that. These are people talking. We don't need that. If you say the economy is crumbling, we don't need lots of ministers. Germany is bigger than Ghana. They have 16 ministers. They are way bigger than Ghana. They have more money than us. And yes, so they are able to manage their resources beautifully. And the fact that they are holding this in trust for the people. So we want our ministers to be cut down. We can't have 3 ministers as roads. We don't even know what they are doing over there because our roads are in bad shape. So we want to see some changes.
Oh, that reminds me, Akbaba, there was recently that incident about, was it the vice president's convoy somewhere, caught up somewhere with, very bad roads. Yeah. And they were struggling to get the vehicles. V8s, I mean, if V8s can't do it, then imagine what your car and my car would look like. That would be... And recently, another matter, just thinking through all of this, 2 days ago or so, was it, when it rained?
Yeah.
I mean, I was around the Black Star Square. I went there to interact with some people, and I was coming back. It took me about 2 hours to get home. And, from the Kaukudi stretch, a space of about 300 meters, it took me about 30 minutes. Yeah. That's like a minute per meter. And then, what got me shaken was the flooding. Yeah. All the way from the pig farm roundabout, entering Jolu, because I was going past. Yeah. The flooding was terrible.
It's the same situation on the Accra-Takoradi Highway.
It was mad.
When you get to the point around Wejada-Atala section, perennial flooding of that stretch. And it's shocking. I can't believe it that it's been happening and nobody's doing anything to stop it. Anytime it rains, it washes down silt from the hills onto the road, mud. And then sometimes vehicles would have to use one lane. And this is the Accra-Takoradi Highway. People spend hours on end waiting to get home. And these are things that people are always talking about. I've done many stories on that. And I'm sure if people who live in Castro, if they're watching this, I'm sure they'll be saying, yes, you're telling our story. So, yeah. I agree with some of the things. And again, you mentioned, you talked about insurgency and all of that. I think one thing that we need to know, the insurgency iceberg, usually what we do is the firefighting approach. We wait for it to happen, and then we move in with the solutions.
Reactive rather than proactive.
But what we have to know is that within the troubled ocean that we're looking at, beneath the iceberg, it's down there. What is hidden from us is the mismanagement of the economy, is the corruption, is the unemployment, all of these issues. And these are the triggers for those insurgency, to happen.
Anyway.
If you don't deal with them,
right.
Yeah.
Then trouble awaits you.
Yeah, it explodes.
We have to wrap the conversation in 5 minutes. So I'm going to give each one of you a minute. Maximize your minute. Bridget, I'll start with you. 30 seconds for your thoughts before and 30 seconds to wrap. And I'll do same with the others. Let's hear from you, Bridget.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will go back to the corn artist. I looked up the meaning. It says that a person who tricks others by persuading them to believe something that is not true. The president said, I will put my presidency on the line when it comes to Galamsey. And we know that key persons in his government were involved in Galamsey. Not only that, they set up a committee, a damning report came out. It sat on the desk, gathered dust for 2 years. Nothing happened until
Let's just say you can find a more tasteful, more respectful expression for the president, right?
My colleagues are asking for accountability. The reason why they are always on the celebrities come out is because they know the influence of the celebrities. So just add their voices. So they demand a lot from their own colleagues. They expect same of government. So if Cecilia Dape's dead brother is still transferring money and nothing happens because the president has already given her a clean sheet even before she faces the OSP, that infuriates a lot of young people and they see them getting away with it. Those are the things that they want to see change. That's why they are angry. They are not angry because these are the best our society has to offer.
Right.
Educated.
Right.
Well, I mean, from good homes. I saw them and I was like, these guys, they all look like Dadabizo. But for them to hit the street, it means something has really, really gone on. So they want to see accountability in government.
All right, accountability and governance. That's what we need.
Who have committed crimes held accountable, and things will change.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bridget Otu, for joining the conversation. Mustafa, you have your minute as well.
Thank you, Ben. A journalist worth, Bridget's salt should not just throw out wild allegations. If you know government officials who are involved in Ghana. Say, name and shame. We shouldn't just interested in throwing wild allegations for no justifiable reason. Also, I think Maxwell's comment was quite reckless, and I think that in all we do, using vituperative language is not the end that we are seeking to achieve. We are looking to...
Mustafa, tell me what exactly Bridget said that you found to be, or is it Maxwell that you found to be reckless? What exactly was it?
You cannot call the president, a conatist.
Oh, no, I didn't.
That was not Maxwell, by the way. It was Benjamin Akakpo, and he retracted it, so I don't know what your beef is.
Yes. I mean, it's reckless, and I think that such vituperative language doesn't add to the discourse, doesn't add anything to the discourse.
All right.
At the end of the day, what we are looking for is progress, is reprieve, is to ensure that young people in this country are doing well, thrive. And I keep saying that this government is trying everything possible it can to ensure that we get there.
Okay, all right. Mustafa, we're grateful.
In terms of digitalizing our space to ensure that we take advantage of...
Yes, we've seen the digitization and digitalization, and we'll see where that leads us in Ghana. Thank you, Mustafa, for joining the conversation. Benjamin?
I'd like to tell Mr. Mustafa that the government hasn't respected Ghanaians, first of all, for them to demand respect from us. Secondly, like I was saying, we've given the government from now till end of November. What we know very well is that within December, they create a country where we can't live in it. But they've created restaurants and hotels for their sons and daughters for foreigners to come and enjoy our country that we are suffering in it. So dirty December is going to turn into dirty demonstrations if we don't see anything change within Ghana here. And basically, that is what I have to say. So within December, if things do not change, we're going to organize protest after protest every day. It's not going to be something 3 days. We're going to do it throughout the whole of December if we do not see things change.
I see. Dirty December becoming demonstration December.
Yeah.
Maxwell, you have the final word and then we're gone.
Yeah. Well, for me, as a journalist, two learnings. One on the side of the police. I think for the side of the police, I saw something different, especially on the last day. Quite unfortunate treatments meted out to some of the protesters. But on the final day of the protest, I know Oliver would definitely disagree with me because he says his goal was to reach the frontage of the Jubilee House. But I thought that in the face of serious provocations, on the ground, the police did well. They maintained a cool, composure. They didn't really react. Although we saw the water cannons, on the ground, they were not discharged. We saw some of them holding their tear gas bags. It was not discharged. I saw COP Happy Bachumesi negotiating with the leaders of the demonstration to try and get them off the streets. They couldn't reach a compromise. So, yeah, they continue to protest in the middle of the street. That you do not see often at protest and demonstration. And I think we need to give the police a pat on the back on that. On the side of the protesters, I think it's a dawn of
a new
era when people are rallying around the Ghana flag. Throughout the protests, I did not see any party colors at the protest. And I think it's a good thing, especially for this generation. Bridget was talking about the demographic of the people who came. Young people, millennials, Generation Z folks, and all of them were holding the Ghana flag, no partisan colors. In a country where things are polarized, divided NDC, NPP lines, I think we have to commend the organizers for this.
Right. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. I see a message that says respect is earned, not given. What I will leave you with, the words of Robert Evans, who says there are 3 sides to every story: your side, my side, and the truth. Where is the truth in Ghana? That's what I want to leave you with tonight. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. This is The Probe. Those who joined the conversation, Bridget Otu, she is a journalist and activist. Thank you so much, Bridget, for joining us. There's also Salam Mustafa, National Youth Organizer, NPP. We have Maxwell Agbagba, ace, I'll give him that title, ace journalist. On the ground, he's superb. Maxwell Agbagba.
I love the ground.
Should I tell them your nickname? I'll hold it for now. And then Benjamin Akakpo, head of programs at Democracy Hub and a convener of Fix the Country. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. And that's how we cap off The Probe for tonight. Next week, we continue with another episode. Have a good night.